Impact Wrestling is back with another Impact Plus special, Under Siege, taking place this Friday, the 26th of May, from London, Ontario, Canada. Going to be taking place at 8 PM Eastern Time, which is 5 PM Pacific, and for those watching in the UK, that is 1 AM. There are 9 matches already announced for this show, and I've got to say, Impact Wrestling knocking it out the park as always. At least 5 or 6 of these matches I'm really looking forward to discussing, and what better way to kick things off than a number 1 contenders match. The winner of this 6-pack challenge will be the number 1 contender going into Against All Odds, which will only be a couple of weeks later on June the 9th. We've got 6 guys involved, as I said. We've got Moose, Eddie Edwards, Jonathan Gresham, Yuya Uemura, Alex Shelley, and Frankie Kazarian. Now I'm going to use process of elimination to narrow down my prediction for you here, because I think 3 superstars have a potential of picking up the W here, but the other 3 I'm going to rule out immediately. Moose being the first one, he seems to be gearing up for a tag team championship opportunity. I don't think it's going to come until Slammiversary. Him and Brian Myers have been teasing it in recent weeks on Impact TV, so the fact he's involved in this, for me, obviously it's a big name involved in the match to give it a bit of extra stakes for the eventual winner, but for me, Moose is not going to win here. Jonathan Gresham, Yuya Uemura, I think they're 2 great athletes, but again, I think they're here just to make up the numbers. Eddie Edwards, of course, is an interesting one. Him and Kazarian have had this thing going on about the locker room leader. Will that cancel each other out in this match, or one be more decisive than the other? Obviously, the other superstar involved, Alex Shelley, made his call. Of course, his partner Chris Sabin is going for the X Division Championship during this show. I'll be giving that prediction later in the video. But Alex Shelley has called his shot. Will he get an opportunity to win the big one, to win the championship he has not been able to win in all the years he's been a part of Impact Wrestling? My answer is going to be no, and the reason for it is because I think someone else in the same position is going to get that opportunity first. Frankie Kazarian is going to be my prediction. I do think that he will be able to cancel Eddie Edwards out. In fact, I think he'll be the one pinning Eddie Edwards in this match. Frankie Kazarian has had a lot of focus on him. 3 weeks of interviews, sit-downs going throughout his career, his time in AEW, the fact that he wants to win the big one, the fact he wants to be a locker room leader. It feels like a lot of time has been put in to making Frankie Kazarian appear to be a top contender in Impact Wrestling. I think for that here, a 6-pack challenge is a perfect way to make a number 1 contender. Frankie Kazarian is going to be my prediction. But who will be the Impact World Champion come Against All Odds? That's right, I'm diving into it nice and early. The no DQ match for the Impact World title. Steve Maclin, the champion, defending against PCO. Maclin from the USA against PCO, who of course is from Canada. And this show is in Canada as well, just like Rebellion was when Steve Maclin won the title. Scott D'Amore, of course, gave him the championship as was demanded. But of course, Maclin made the attack on Scott D'Amore, of course, refusing to put the belt around Maclin's waist. Of course, after this, Maclin said on the following episode of Impact that he wanted to defeat Josh Alexander in his home country and really show up the dominance of the United States. Well, of course, that led to Scott D'Amore making PCO the top challenger that we're going for the championship, especially when Maclin was saying, why didn't Scott D'Amore step up to the plate? We've seen since then Steve Maclin feels that D'Amore is against him. He's got himself some backup in Singh and Shearer. Of course, it's led to attacks on the like of Heath backstage. And of course, Rhino as well, getting a World Championship opportunity just recently on Impact. And Steve Maclin not just beating Rhino, but taking him out as well. Obviously, wrapped around his leg was a steel chair, and what looked to be like a shovel was used on the leg as well, clearly putting Rhino out for the time being. And of course, when we saw Rhino being put into the ambulance, that's when Scott D'Amore made this a no DQ match. And of course, PCO has been beaten down by the 3 guys as well. Cinder blocks on the back, and of course the sledgehammer used on top of those as well. That should of course break PCO's back, but he's not human, ladies and gentlemen. He will be at the show, but will he become your Impact World Champion? Not in my opinion. Steve Maclin, for me, will retain the championship. He will overcome this hurdle. He is the heel champion right now that Impact Wrestling needs. And personally, for me, I think it'll be Maclin versus Frankie Kazarian Against All Odds. And I do think, if I'm going to give an early prediction, I think Maclin will retain also there. And he could be facing Nick Aldis when it comes to Slammiversary. And of course, Nick Aldis with the next match I'll be talking about against Kenny King. Now, of course, Kenny King taking exception to the idea that Nick Aldis has returned and simply wants to throw his name immediately in that championship picture. Kenny King almost making the argument, you're not even on really earn the opportunity to face me in the ring, getting Sheldon Jean to try and take out Aldis in his first match back. Of course, that was unsuccessful. Now it'll be Aldis versus Kenny King at this show. And if you want my opinion, Nick Aldis, like I say, he's going to be the one at Slammiversary going for the Impact World title. Therefore, I believe that Nick Aldis will pick up the victory here on this show. Moving on, and let's talk about Callihan's revenge, shall we? The design in a six-man tag team match against Sami Callihan, Rich Swann, and a partner who has not been determined at the time of recording. Now, of course, Sami Callihan was a part of the design, but of course he was taking them down the garden path, turning on them at Rebellion. He said that was the plan all along, to break them up. He had no problem shaving his head, and of course now he's in battle with the design. He would take them on, but of course the design seemingly getting about 45 men in yellow hoodies attacking Sami Callihan. Sami needed to get a partner, someone he could trust, someone that's like a brother to him, someone he goes way back with. Rich Swann is the first person that is going to be by his side, but we know someone else is going to be as well. I've got it narrowed down to 3 names who I think it could be, because OVE has been mentioned in the build-up of this. Will Jake Christ come back to Impact Wrestling? He was recently on Ring of Honor. He's certainly one that could fill the void here. Another name that comes to mind as well, Madman Fulton. Remember him? Could he be returning back to the Impact Zone? And of course, he was the most recent disciple of OVE as well. Of course, the last man standing of that group could be coming back to the company at some point in the future. The last name that came to mind, how about Dina's former tag team partner in Jake Something? That potentially could be a fun surprise and a fun return as well. Not seen so much of Jake Something since he's left Impact Wrestling, so I'd like to see him come back to the Impact Zone. To give a prediction of who I think it will be, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to go Madman Fulton. I just think it's been a long time since we've seen him. I think he would be certainly that sort of big superstar. We've kind of got Callihan and Dina there, kind of the two leaders, if you will. We've got Rich Swann, the X Division star, Angel's the X Division star. Connor's kind of like the big heavy, so I feel like we need kind of a bit of muscle there. So for me, Madman Fulton would fit that. As a prediction for the match, I'm going for Team Sami to pick up the victory, and I think this will drag itself out for where we'll get Sami Callihan versus Dina at Slammiversary. Next, let's talk about the X Division Championship. Trey Miguel defending against Chris Sabin. Sabin picking up a victory over Trey Miguel the night after Rebellion in a 6-man tag team match. Very New Japan Pro Wrestling style of booking things. I like it. You pin the champion, you get yourself a title opportunity in a multi-person match. It seems to be a good way to do it. For me, to give a quick prediction on this one, Chris Sabin, yes, he's looking to become a 9-time. Don't worry, I'm not going to say it 9 times. Thank goodness Booker T wasn't a 9-time champion back in the day. But for me, Chris Sabin not winning here. Trey Miguel, this is going to be a good notch on his belt. He's had a fantastic reign as X Division champion so far. I expect Trey Miguel to retain. Another championship I expect to retain will be the Impact Tag Team Championships. ABC, Ace Austin and Chris Bay of the Bullet Club going against SubCulture, of course, with Danny Luna coming in. Great to see SubCulture in Impact Wrestling. Of course, seeing Mark Andrews back in the day in Impact, I was always a big fan of his work, but seeing Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster as a team, of course, takes you back to NXT UK. A standout match for anyone that's not seen them. NXT TakeOver Cardiff, of course, for the UK brand. Go and see when they won the NXT UK Tag Team Championships. That match is an absolute barn burner and definitely would get you really in the mood to see this match. This match could steal the show, but the fact that there are outsiders coming in, is it one night only? Will it be sticking around? I'm not so sure. One thing I am sure about is I think ABC will retain, and like I say, I think they'll go against the good hands when it comes to the next show against all odds, and I think they're going to be taking on Brian Myers and Moose when it comes to Slammiversary. We'll follow that up with the Digital Media Championship. We've got Joe Hendry defending against Dirty Dango. Why, Dango? Why? Why did you take out Santino Marella attacking him? We saw the hair was there as well. It led to all the detective work, kind of like the fashion files, what we've seen with Dirty Dango in his previous days of WWE doing the detective stuff. Really fun segments we've seen as well. And of course, say his name and he appears. Joe Hendry was a part of those as well. Accusing the likes of Swinger involved, of course, in the past, Zicky Dice as well. But of course, in the end, when the t-shirt was ripped, when Joe Hendry was accused, we found out it was Dirty Dango. And we should have known all along. Dirty, it's in the name. The clue was there for us all along. And of course, we haven't got the explanation at this point, but I'm guessing Dirty Dango, was jealous of Santino Marella making all the matches. He wanted to be involved making matches. He was always shut down by Santino. I'm guessing that'll be a match we'll probably get at Slammiversary as well. But as of a prediction here, look, I'm not going to bet against him. I believe Joe Hendry will retain. Let's turn our attention into what I think are the two most important matches on this show. The Knockouts division is on fire at the moment. Of course, with the new addition to the roster, Trinity making her Impact debut, of course, just recently, it feels like her attention will be quickly going towards the Knockouts World Championship. But at this particular time, she's gone in the ring. She's picked up a victory over Callihan King. She had an open contract for this show. Of course, with Jay Vidal taking a picture with Trinity backstage, Gisele Shaw was not happy about it. Gisele has been out on the shelf, I believe, with an injury for a short time, but she is going to be back next week. Trinity said, well, if you're not a fan of the idea of the picture to Jay, then why not get Gisele to face me at this show? That's exactly what is happening. And to be honest, really, Gisele Shaw for me has an unbelievable 2023 so far with her in-ring storytelling and matches and feuds that she's had. Here to be against Trinity on this Impact special, for me, it's big news. I think it's what a lot of people will be tuning in to Impact for, to see what Trinity is doing. For me, I hope this is not one and done. I hope it carries over to Against All Odds. But for me, Trinity is the one that's coming in. Like I said at the start of this, she is going to be focusing her attention to that Knockouts World Championship. I think that that match will happen at Slammiversary. So therefore, I've got Trinity picking up the victory. So let's talk about the Knockouts World Championship, shall we then? Deonna Purrazzo, the champion, going against Jordynne Grace, the challenger. If Jordynne Grace loses, she cannot get a match for the Knockouts World title as long as Deonna Purrazzo is champion. Now, of course, these two ladies were the main event of Rebellion for the vacant championship that Mickie James at the time, of course, couldn't defend, so that's why it was vacated. Deonna winning on the night. Of course, Deonna Purrazzo against Jordynne Grace. Always amazing matches between the two, but Deonna Purrazzo is 3 wins to 0 over Jordynne Grace. So Grace here, well, she's going in arguably as the underdog. Deonna seems to always have her number. It's a last chance scenario as well, but it goes down to the direction of what Impact Wrestling want to do with the Knockouts division and the Knockouts Championship. If Mickie James comes back from injury in time for Slammiversary, I think there's a good case and argument for Jordynne Grace to win this match, finally get one over on Deonna Purrazzo and be the champion, and they can do the Hard to Kill rematch at Slammiversary. There's still unfinished business with Grace and Mickie James, although that can be concluded without a World Championship. It feels to me though, as I said in the last prediction, Trinity, I think, will be the one that they will push for the Knockouts World Championship at Slammiversary. That's my opinion, and therefore I think that the best built match that there was on Trinity's debut was the back and forth with Deonna Purrazzo. Grace did make the statement of saying that if you wanted to have a match with Deonna, don't necessarily count on the championship. I think the championship will be in play. I think Deonna Purrazzo is going to win here against Grace once again. Grace has been in the championship pitch now for well over the last year. Like I said, there's plenty you can do there. Mickie James storyline, there's probably other great knockouts that she can feud with as well. She could even turn heel if she wanted to as well. There's lots you can do with Jordynne Grace. Deonna Purrazzo versus Trinity for me feels like that match that I think that's the one everyone wants to see. That was the one that was teased the most when Trinity debuted. We had the idea as well where Deonna said, look, if you get stuck in a match with me, well, you can't necessarily run away from this one. You can't leave. You can't get away. Trinity said, well, actually, when you've wrestled me in the ring, Deonna, you're going to wish you were fired once again. A few WWE digs in there. Of course, both previously have worked there. But for me, that spice was enough to make me feel that that is the match that, A, I just want to see, but also B, the match I think we're going to see. Deonna Purrazzo here to pick up the victory here. And like I say, in the future, we'll get Deonna versus Trinity at Slammiversary. So that's my predictions there for you for Under Siege. Let me know your predictions down in the comments below. I cannot wait to find out what you think about this show. Are you looking forward to it? Please let me know in the comments below right now. If you've enjoyed this video, then do consider hitting the like button, share with a friend as well, and subscribe to SCW if you are new here. Impact content will be coming up quite regularly on the road to Slammiversary. Like I said, Against All Odds is in between as well. And if you're a fan of WWE, Night of Champions predictions will be coming next week, along with NXT Battleground. And if you're an AEW fan, then of course, Double or Nothing predictions will also be dropping this week. It's a busy week ahead of pro wrestling. Of course, if you want just additional content in the meantime, SCW Rewind, of course, was yesterday. That was Night of Champions 2015, and as well as that, also the latest Q&A is available also on the channel. But that's all for me. Thank you for watching. As always, look after yourselves and each other. Enjoy Under Siege, and I'll see you next time.